Krys with Cosmic Frequency. And the first thing I want to say is that all transmissions that come through this live are for the upliftment and the advancement of the human consciousness. Now, you can take that as it is. You could say it's complete BS, or you could listen and apply what I share to your life and see amazing results. The choice is always yours. So I'm wearing this beautiful cashmere shawl. For those of you who don't know, the fabrics that you wear have a tremendous effect on your frequency and your ability to tune in to the source or the ether that is the field that you are always immersed in and are. So cashmere, wool, linen, things like this, cotton are great fabrics to help your spiritual progression. So that's why I'm wearing this cashmere shawl. So with that said, the topic of today is religion and spiritual deception. So I guess I should offer a, what are those things called? Disclaimer. Those of you who have a strong religious background, you probably don't want to listen to this because this is not going to be anything that you've ever heard before. It's concepts, ideas that really stretch the thinking process and the consciousness of the listener. So if you think you have it all figured out, you're set in your spiritual box or your spiritual bubble, and you don't really want to expand or see any other perspectives or points of view, please log off now because this is not for you. This is for people who are ready to advance on their journey to open up their awareness and perspectives to alternate, higher ways of thinking and being. If you want to move forward on the spiritual journey, on the journey in general, you need to be able to allow your beliefs and your thoughts to be challenged. So we're going to talk about religion and spiritual deception. A little background on me. I was raised Christian from 5 to 20, however years old, before I decided to move on my own direction. I have a huge cross tattoo on my back. I would go to church Sunday, Sunday night, Wednesday, and sometimes even Friday. Vacation Bible school, the whole 9 yards. I was heavily involved in the church, although I never really resonated with it. It was something that my parents more or less forced upon me, but not something I chose to explore as I got older. I share this with you to let you know that the place I'm coming from is not from a new age, spiritual matrix mindset. I am speaking from direct experience with having gone through much of the Bible many times over, so much so that my government name is actually on this Bible, along with, if I just flip through, scriptures that at one point in time, I would circle and go back to look for guidance from. So those of you who know me from my metaphysical and esoteric and ether physics mindset, you probably didn't know that I had a religious background. But it's because of this religious background that I was able to see through the bullshit. And I mean that quite literally. Set up for the mind control of a people. It was not organized for freedom. Now, why am I saying that? How do I know that? First and foremost, whenever I went to church, I never felt any connection. I never felt any kind of anything. Everything I did was because I was told to, right? But it wasn't something that I felt within my own heart, within my own being. So that was the first thing. I was also having very supernatural paranormal experiences, ever since I was a kid, well into the religious days and after. So that was the second thing. The third thing is that the questions I had about reality could not be answered by a pastor, by a priest, by my parents, by the church. They couldn't. Everything was regurgitated information to pray to Jesus, to ask God for assistance. There's some things that, you're just not supposed to know kind of attitude. And for me, that was not good enough. I didn't want to be told just to have faith, have blind faith, and everything will be taken care of. I needed to understand how reality works. Why am I here? What is hell? Am I dreaming? What are ghosts? What are spirits? Right? All of these burning questions at a very young age could not be addressed. There was no open-mindedness. There was no ability to expand consciousness beyond the confines of what was written in this book. So Christianity is a closed-loop system. It's a closed-loop system that only makes sense and verifies itself within its own bubble. But it does not allow for the expansion of consciousness to reach within oneself to come to a greater conclusion than what this so-called Bible or religion would say is okay. So let's talk about the psychological effects of Christianity. What happens? From my experience, what I saw, especially recently, I see a lot of people who were once on the path of, let's say, self-realization. Let's just use that word. And then they revert back to Christianity. Why is this happening? What is going on? It's a very layered topic. But from one point of view, people do not understand the depths of reality, and so they're always continuously looking outside of themselves for some sort of comfort, some sort of safe haven. And so when they can't find it in, a New Age community, because none of that makes sense either, they have to go into this place where everything has to be from their own consciousness, and that is a very tough thing to handle because most people don't have the mentality to handle themselves. They don't really know how to become responsible for their own thoughts, their own feelings. And they have an unease about life because they have not found center yet. That God or that guru or that Jesus that they're looking for is themselves. But since they have not tuned into that and really sank into their own essence, they outsource their spirituality. Now, this is a mental concept that is not new to humanity. Deborah says, this is landing right on time for me. Beautiful, Deborah. Thank you. I'm going to go back in history just a little bit. I don't remember the dates and all that stuff because it's not really relevant. Time is fluid. But there was a Roman Empire that was very, very strong. And at this point in history, it was seeking to conquer all of the world. And one of the first places that the Roman Empire conquered was the Celtics and the Druids. Now, this history is not history that's easily accessible to the contemporary Christian or the contemporary spiritual seeker, because this level of consciousness is not for the layman. You have to go through your own rites of passage to come into a higher state of being to comprehend the deeper levels of the game. Because most things are just held on the surface just to keep your attention. That's not good enough for me. I go deep. That's what cosmic frequency is. It is the cosmic ocean. So this history is really interstellar because the earth realm does not provide it. And I know how that may sound to some of you, but those of you who can read between the lines, you will pick up what I'm putting down. So the Roman Empire was bent on domination and control, right? Caesar. And there was a general named Titus. And Titus was a very sneaky and cunning ruler. He had sons. There was an empire called the Flavian Empire. His sons ended up being his generals who would go out and do his dirty work on his behalf, on behalf of the Roman Empire. So as Titus would send out these orders, one general, actually I'm gonna pause on that part and tell you this side note that's really important. As a kid, I used to draw these pictures, and it was of me riding this horse, and I was going after this man, and this man name was Nero. And this is 3 to 5 years old. I would be drawing these pictures. I had no idea why, but I would always be going after this man named Nero. I called him the evil king Nero. Years later, I come to find out one of Titus Flavian's generals was named Nero. So I am from the past and the future. I'm here to solidify a timeline that went haywire. When I found out that Nero was an actual person, and he was actual, I have a picture. I'll post it in this live after. I don't know if I can like share pictures while I'm going live. Let me see. I have no idea, but I'll do that later. I'll show you the pictures of all the generals, and you're going to see Nero in there. I had no idea at 3 years old who Nero was. Come to find out, 25 years later, Nero was the main general sent by the Roman Empire to go kill the Druids and the Celtics. Hence why I was going after him. Now, there was a group of people that were not able to be controlled by the Romans at that point in time. They took out the Celtics. They took all their symbolism, and they inverted it, and they turned it into what we know as modern day mysticism and paganism and all that stuff, right? That was confiscated by the Roman Empire and fed back to the people as the truth, all right? Now, they did the same things with the Druid symbols. Now, there was a group, like I said, who was not able to be controlled. And this is all going to tie back into this information. Most of you Christians don't have this information. You are most of the time only seeking refuge in Jesus based on the concept of Jesus that you have been fed and given by the Roman Empire, who was enslaving you and who has enslaved millions and trillions of people. So you run from one prison into the other. One guard opens the door, the other guard opens that door, and you run right back into it. So I'm here to give you the truth, a different perspective. Because, I could say, why do I care so much? Why do I care? Why don't I just let people do what they need to do and figure it out for themselves? Because I know that the game isn't fair. I know that you're only getting one side, a third of the story. You're not getting all the details. There's no way. You're not going to find this stuff. It's hidden. So you can either take this and feel the frequency from this, or you can just continue on your trajectory, and that's fine with me. But at least I spoke up and I voiced a different perspective to give you a chance to move into a different direction if you choose. So the Palestinians were giving hell to the Roman Empire. They were not able to be controlled. And the Roman Empire needed the Palestinians under their thumb, under their rule, because they are power hungry, right? They don't have a connection to the source, so they seek external power. True power isn't potential. Power is potential. Power is not exertion of force. Exertion of force actually stems from a lack of power. One who does not have power has to act like they do have power. Hence, they are aggressive and they try to take advantage. So the Roman Empire was not powerful, and to this day, dare I say, it's not. It's the illusion that they paint and the perception of control that they give to the people that makes them seem so dominating. Now, moving back into this story. Titus and Nero and Vespasian, they were not ignorant people. They were very well-educated people. They were psychologists to a degree. They studied people. They wanted to understand the human psyche so that they could control it. And so in studying the Palestinians, what they realized was that the Palestinians wanted a savior. They needed a savior. They needed something to look up to and someone to feel good about. You know, their world was falling apart. They simply wanted to feel peace and love. And it was this peace and love that was used against them. And this is how today we get a lot of people in the spiritual community who are on the path to self-realization running back into the arms of Big Brother Jesus. Because what happened was Titus fabricated a story based on his rulings and based on his accomplishments or achievements in the war of battle, in the battle of war, and he took something that he would accomplish, like, I don't know, he wiped out a whole army of whatever people. He would turn that and flip it and call himself Jesus or a savior. And so he had some scholars of the Council of Nicaea fabricate a story about a savior named Jesus. They just literally made it up. They literally made it up. A good researcher you can look into is Freddie Silva. He does a lot of work with the Knights Templars. And I'm sure, you already know. The Knights Templars is another group that was severely misconstrued, but very powerful, trust me. Freddie Silva does a great job of rectifying their history and their connection to the false Jesus story. So this story was created, literally created, as a power mechanism to yell out, Palestinians, those of you who are looking for a savior, there's a Messiah coming. His name is Jesus the Christ. Now, where did the Pharisees at this time get the concept of a Christ? Hinduism, Buddhism, which predate Christianity by thousands of years. Gnosticism. They stole history that was way older than contemporary religion, and they took the savior complex, which is the Christ. But the Christ was never one person. The Christ is a frequency that is imbued within the one who knows himself or herself. There have been thousands of Christs. And in that time of Palestinian versus Rome, there was hundreds of Christs walking the earth in the globe, and the Roman Empire knew it. But what they did is they took all the accolades from that guy, from this amazing person, from that amazing person, and they clumped it into one story, and they fed that to the people, and they said, this is your savior that you've been looking for. He stands for peace. He stands for hope. He's there when no one else is. He's there to comfort you. He is altruistic. He is the God. He is the Christ. They brought into a singular form a conglomeration of attributes and functions of hundreds of people. And they put it into a book, which is a book that has information that predates it, put in here to offer a perspective of control over the people. So today, what I see is the same thing playing out again, because history is only going to repeat itself until a wrench is thrown into the gears of time. And this is the history that is not shared on this planet, that's for sure. And so what I want people to really sink your teeth into is in those moments of despair, in those moments of, oh my God, this is so hard, I need a savior. What is stopping you from being that energy for yourself? What is preventing you from pulling your shit together and making a conscious choice to choose to be your most potent self. You now have history shared with you that is probably never, that has not been shared except for by a select few people, about the workings of religion and how it came into be. And that what I just shared with you is a very small portion of it. But the deeper context of the message here is that religion is a fabrication meant to control the minds of the people. Going back to the story, once the Pharisees were able to share this story with the Palestinians bought into it. They bought into it. They gave their power away, and they subjugated themselves to the Roman Empire. So as long as the Roman Empire kept the image of a savior, there was no more battles, there was no more wars, but it was all psychological now. Now the Roman Empire was in the heads and the hearts of the people. They didn't need to slaughter them anymore. They didn't need to kill them anymore. All they needed to do was control their minds through perception and lies. And that is the power of religion, that it does not set you free. Religion will capture your emotions and capture your mind so that you are no longer thinking for yourself, so that you are no longer able to expand beyond its borders, its mental borders. And so instead of controlling the world through war, the Roman Empire only controls people through their stories and their narratives. Because the people end up destroying themselves, spiritually and physically. When the devil, Roman Empire, whispers in your ear, hey, don't go and meditate because you might run into an evil demon. And you think to yourself, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't meditate because there might be an evil demon. That's not freedom. That's manipulation. And that's coercion, and that's trickery. It's often the one who is pointing the finger that is the one doing the thing that actually deserves the finger pointed at. That sounds really confusing, but you get what I'm saying. This reality is not constructed for your freedom until you realize that it is. But you have to be the Neo. You have to be the one to come into knowledge of that. I'm here as a simple messenger to give you more information, more context. It's up to you to take that context and do something with it. It's up to you to actualize yourself, start asking questions. Holy shit, what would I do? What would I do if there was no religion? If there was no Jesus story? Because it is a story. Now, the funny thing is with stories and myths is that they get blown up and they get thrown up all over the place. They become this, they become that. You got 12,000 different names for Jesus. You got, he was black, he was white, he was Caesar Borgia, he was Titus, he was red hair, he was dark skin. At that point, I know it's bullshit because there's too much noise around it. It doesn't hold its own weight. Now, the only way Jesus exists is as an egregor. An egregor is what happens whenever a group of people focus enough energy and their thoughts focus enough energy on the same thing, and their thoughts actually begin to materialize and make real that idea or that thought. So since there's hundreds and thousands of people, trillions of people believing in Jesus, they create their own exclusive bubble where Jesus exists, but only in that sphere. Because trust me, Jupiterians they do not believe in Jesus. The Taigetans, they do not believe in Jesus. Other people from other star systems, Other people from other places in this physical earth who never heard of Jesus don't believe in him, because it's a story. It's another Santa. It's Santa Claus for people who realize who don't realize the fallacy. That's what it is. It's the grown-up Santa Claus. When you're a kid, you need that mysticism and that, oh wow, that magic. There's going to be a guy coming through my chimney and giving me all these things and all these gifts. It's going to make me feel so good. It's going to make me feel so loved and cherished. Santa, Jesus, let's do the comparison. Oh, there's this guy that lives in the sky and he's going to come back and he's going to save us. And he died for us, going through all this really crazy stuff, and we get to drink his blood, which is cannibalism and vampire. If you're drinking someone's blood, that's sacrifice. It's weird to me. Even if it is allegory, I'm not going to drink someone's blood. But that's what the religion says to do. Drink my blood and eat my bread as my body, right? So that's cannibalism. But it's the concept of there's this guy who loves me so much, and I can only figure out this life because of Jesus, because Jesus is going to be there to save me. That's not it. That is a false illusion. You are delusional in the thinking that someone or something else is going to do anything for your spiritual progression other than you making the right conscious actions to mature your consciousness to be able to become responsibility with your thoughts, actions, and deeds. Santa only makes sense to people who don't really want to see the truth. When you realize that Santa was really just your mom and dad, you're kind of disappointed. Well, sooner or later on the spiritual journey, when you realize that Jesus is just a fabricated story, you're going to be disappointed. And like I said, you can take this as fantasy. It doesn't have to be true. But those of you who have the eyes to see, you will see. So, Carl says, having been raised Christian myself, this has been a challenge for me to fully accept and come to terms with, but it's coming through. Yes, it is tough, but trust me when I say, once you go through the rabbit hole, you do come out the other side. So if I can be a voice of reason for those who have yet to realize their own innate power, I will be that. The universe, reality as a whole, is so much more expansive than you can ever imagine. And to summarize it into one book that is a conglomeration of other people's thoughts and ideas, part true, part not true, books taken out of it, text change, you got the, NIV version, you got the King James version, you got that version. How is anyone supposed to know what the heck the truth is? They don't. They are so desperate to feel something of a foundation, something of coherence, that it feels better to believe a lie than to realize the truth. It feels better to people to believe a lie than to come to terms with the truth. But I tell you, the moment you cry it out, you go through this psychological breakdown of like, holy, oh my God, what is happening? Once you get through that, you start to rebuild yourself in your own image. And that is powerful. You start to construct your life based on your own unique thoughts, your own unique feelings. And you start to meet people who are doing the same. A baby, if you take a baby and you force it to walk before it's ready, it's going to fall. It has to go through its own journey to learn how to balance itself, to learn how to put one foot in front of the other. And once it can do that, then it has the power, the balance, the mental fortitude to know what it means to walk. It becomes sufficient in its own being. Spirituality is the same way. Humans must become sufficient in their own consciousness. Without a savior, there is nothing, no one coming to save you ever. I don't care how many times you go to church. That church is not there for your spiritual freedom. It's there for your spiritual indoctrination so that you do not step outside the box, realize your full potential. Because trust me, the system needs you, but you don't need the system. The system needs you to believe in it, to keep it going. But you will survive all space and all time and all lies. You will be here whenever the religions aren't. You will be present whenever the pastors are gone, whenever the gurus are gone. You will remain. I believe that's all for now. I trust that this has been helpful. There's so much more to share, but we're already gone on 30 minutes. I will post that picture of Nero and all the other people I told you about. And at the very least, just remember that you have a conscious choice to look deeper than what is just in front of you. All right? Peace. I always forget how to close these lives. All right. Bye, everyone.